Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. Please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And just enjoy the conversations. Now, boom, check this out. Conor Benn fails the test again. But he fails a different test. The test he failed this time was the test to prove to everyone that his power was real and that he would get in the ring and tranquilize his opponent the way he was doing before he tested positive for clomiphene. Now, real quick, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with Conor Benn and clomiphene, supposedly he ate too many boiled eggs and as a result contracted clomiphene. Somehow got in the system but through the boiled eggs. For those of you who are saying, what does boiled eggs have to do with it? The word is that there was an individual who wanted to increase the egg production rate in hens, so they injected the hens with clomiphene, okay? And as a result, the hens became, contaminated with the clomiphene, and then when they did lay the eggs were contaminated with the clomiphene because they were injected with this substance to increase the egg production rate. So anyway, Conor Benn just happened to be the guy who got a basket of a bunch of boiled eggs that were contaminated, and that's how it got into his system, supposedly. But nonetheless, man, when it comes to Conor Benn, look, he was in there with somebody tough, all right? I can sit here and make jokes. I can, sit here and say that Conor Benn failed the test again. But I'm going to tell you, two things we need to look at. One, was it really that his opponent was really tough and durable with a strong chin? Because I'm going to tell you, when I was watching that fight to me looked like Miguel Cotto, Margarita 1. And Conor Benn looked like, he was slowing down. He was ended up getting put on the ropes at times. But Conor Benn had a little more left in the tank than Miguel Cotto did. But his opponent, Orozco, was really putting some serious pressure on Conor Benn. One point in the fight, I thought Conor Benn was going to eventually get tired and just get overwhelmed and get stopped. But I think with Conor Benn, being out the ring for over a year, normally fighting at 147, coming back fighting at middleweight, it's just one of those things that it's a lot of different factors in play here, and we got to be fair to him. Same way I can make jokes about the Conor hen and all that crap. We got to be serious and be fair to him that he was out of the ring for the longest layoff of his career, and he was just in there with somebody who wasn't looking to lose. The guy was a come-forward fighter, which played to Conor Benn's advantage at times, but when Conor Benn was looking to catch a little bit of break, it was kind of to his disadvantage because the opponent just never stopped letting his hands go. Matter of fact, I made a joke at one point, I think in a tweet I put out saying, hey, probably need to check this guy for some banned substance or taking an illegal cocktail, because he just wasn't going to stop even but getting countered hard by Conor Benn. And even, having his head just kind of tethering, and visibly getting hurt. He just kept coming back and making sure that he was having some offensive success, just like Conor Benn. I think the uniqueness of this fight is that Conor Benn and Orozco are just naturally aggressive opponents. And they were really trying to do their best to land their power shots, hurt the opponent, and get the stoppage. But, Benn had a nice selection of punches. He had some nice combinations, man. I was very impressed with Benn's ability to go up in weight like that and fight a much bigger man and have success. But again, as far as tranquilizing opponents, Conor Benn failed the test. So now, of course, and he has to expect this, everybody's going to sit here now and want to know what happened to the power. Where was it? Yeah, you hurt your opponent, but no, we're talking about the Samuel Vargas knockouts. We're talking about the stuff you did to Granados. We're talking about what you did to Chris Algieri. Where is it? And that's what I'd have to ask. What happened to the power? Did Conor Benn look fast? Yes. Did he look sharp? Yes. Did he look strong? Yes. But he wasn't tranquilizing anybody. My thing is, what happened to that? Is it because he fought somebody bigger and the power just, didn't really show up at that heavier weight? Or is it that he never really had that kind of power to begin with? Now, to be fair to him, if we're going to make that argument, then we got to say same thing with Adrian Broner. Because Adrian Broner was destroying people at 130, 135, 140. But at 147, Broner had kind of plateaued. He still was strong, but his power just didn't carry up there. And that's why Broner was not having as much success at 147 as he did at the lower weights. So it could be the same thing with Conor Benn. But nonetheless, we'll see what he does as far as his next fight and what weight he's going to fight at. But for him to get the rounds in is good, but for him to go down and try to cut down to 147, I'm just not so sure that's a smart thing. But what I'll tell you is he's got bigger issues because although the Florida Athletic Commission allowed him to fight, let me tell you, I just think the British Boxing Board of Control and with the reach they have, I just think they're going to work hand in hand with those decision makers here stateside to kind of block Conor Benn from fighting until he really clears his name. It's one thing to be cleared to fight in the States, but to clear his name. And that has not been done. And I think that I think they're going to make sure that happens before the next fight. But at the same time, Eddie Hearn is smart. Eddie Hearn's probably already looked at the different moves that can be made against Conor Benn fighting and has already figured out how to counteract it. So I'm kind of glad to see him back because he's young, he's got a family, and I care about the kids, man. Once you have kids, it's like Uncle Hood wants to make sure you can spoil them and love them up and take care of them. But at the same time, right is right and wrong is wrong. And if he didn't do anything, then look, man, quit pussyfooting around and just go on out there, have a conversation, plead your case, sit down and just go through the process. Quit looking for these gray areas and these loopholes to just keep you fighting. Because I'm telling you what Eddie Hearn's plan is. Eddie Hearn's plan is to make Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. Put a post out there on Twitter that basically he just yawned at Conor Benn's performance. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this Conor Benn that was in the ring tonight, he does not beat Chris Eubank Jr. That's a whole nother video. But let's just be fair to both fighters. Conor Benn looked good. He had to get the rust off. He had a tough opponent in front of him. But this Conor Benn isn't beating Eubank Jr. That Conor Benn that fought Algieri and Vargas and Granados and was coming there hitting people and just tranquilizing them, that's a different Conor Benn. This isn't that guy. So that being said, I think Conor Benn should just leave Chris Eubank Jr. alone because he's an emotional guy, Conor Benn, and if he was to get in that ring and lose to Chris Eubank Jr., I just think that's really gonna bog him down, and it's gonna really drive a lot of the boxing community to just converge on him and attack at him and bully him, and now you're gonna see where Conor Benn went from being the hero when he and Chris Eubank Jr. were gonna fight. He failed the test and became the villain. And what you're going to see now is with Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, you say, well, what's worse than being the villain? Well, for Conor Benn, I think, and Eubank Jr., if they were to fight and Chris Eubank Jr. beats him, because he's already seen as a villain, I think he'll be more viewed like Donald Trump and Chris Eubank Jr. as Barack Obama. Because Donald Trump, to some people, is, beyond, he's like, what's the step after being seen as a villain? And I think he'd be looked at Donald Trump and Chris Eubank Jr. will be looked to as Obama. But that being said, let's see what's going to happen with the British Boxing Board of Control, the United Kingdom Anti-Doping Agency. Let's see about his ability to fight in the United States, if they're going to stop it, if they're going to allow him to continue, if they make him come back to the States. You got he being green lighted by the ABA and the Association of Boxing Commission and everything, man. You know, it's just so much that wasn't resolved, and he was able to fight, and people are just up in arms about it. But nonetheless, Conor Benn could be back, headlining his show for his next fight, if Eddie Hearn continues to exploit these gray areas and continues to build a fan base for Conor Benn here in the States, and get Conor Benn back in the ring sooner than later. But I just don't think Conor Benn is ready for a guy like Chris Eubank Jr. And you know what? Chris Eubank Jr. may not even want to fight him until he feels Conor Benn has cleared his name. It's one thing to be cleared to fight somewhere. Clearing your name is another thing. And I'm not sure majority of people feel Conor Benn has cleared his name. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. We'll see what's next for old Conor Benn. But to me, he failed the test. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.